The antiseptic couldn't mask the smell of gun oil and betrayal. Both had left Jun Tenzin bleeding out on this hospital bed. Jun Tenzin, feared Korean mafia boss with tattoo sleeves that tell stories of violence, wakes from an assassination attempt to discover he's paralyzed from the waist down, and his elegant wife Aiko has already filed for divorce, emptied their offshore accounts, and disappeared. Divorce papers arrive via attorney before Jun can process his paralysis. His phone, once constantly buzzing with criminal contacts, now sits ominously silent. His organization fractures. Rivals circle like sharks. Even his own lieutenants whisper about succession. Stripped of everything, mobility, his empire, the fear he commanded, Jun contemplates having a loyal soldier end his life quickly, the way a crime lord should go. Then a voice cuts through his rage. "Put your hand down. You're not dying on my watch." Enter Naomi, a black physical therapist with eyes that have seen violence but refuse to be intimidated by it. She's not impressed by his reputation. She's not afraid of his threats. She's here to rebuild him, whether he wants it or not. This is the story of a man who ruled through fear, learning what real strength looks like, and a woman who heals broken people, proving that even criminals deserve second chances. A story about what happens when love finds you in the wreckage of the life you destroyed. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, time and day you're watching this video. Now, back to the story. Jun Tenzin woke to white ceiling tiles and the certainty that something was catastrophically wrong. He tried to move his legs. Nothing. Tried again, harder, willing the neurons to fire. His lower body remained foreign, unresponsive, dead weight attached to a torso that used to command fear in 3 districts. Fragments crashed through his morphine haze, gunfire echoing in the warehouse, Kenji's face twisted in something that wasn't quite surprise, the sickening moment of falling, concrete rushing up, then nothing until now. The hospital room was private, expensive, all white surfaces and beeping machines, a tomb for the living. The attorney arrived at noon with papers already signed by Aiko. Divorce. Filed 4 days ago while Jun was still unconscious. She left instructions that she's not to be contacted for any reason, the attorney said, avoiding Jun's eyes. The joint accounts have been redistributed. She's retained separate counsel. Jun's phone sat on the bedside table, 47 missed calls before the shooting, 0 after. Even the people who needed him had already moved on. 10 years of marriage. Strategy, not love. He understood that now. Kenji visited that evening, expensive suit and expensive concern. "Boss, we need to discuss the organization. You're incapacitated. Various parties are expressing interest in your territories." Translation, the vultures were circling. Jun's empire, built through 2 decades of calculated violence, was being carved up while he lay helpless. "I could manage things temporarily until you're back on your feet. If you ever are," his tone suggested. After Kenji left, Jun stared at his legs. Useless. Everything he'd built himself into, the dragon who made grown men stammer with fear, reduced to this, a worm. He reached for his phone, scrolling to Yuki's number. 1 call, 1 shot. Clean. The way a boss should go. "Put your hand down." The voice cut through his despair like a blade. "You're not dying on my watch." She stood in the doorway. Black woman, athletic build, eyes that assessed him without a trace of fear. Jun tried his crime lord voice, the one that made lieutenants freeze. "You don't know who I am." Jun Tenzin, organized crime, assault, racketeering, suspected in 3 murders though never convicted. She entered the room, setting down a medical bag with practiced efficiency. "I read your chart, the medical one and the criminal one." "Then you know what I'm capable of." "You know what you were capable of." She met his gaze without flinching. "Right now, you can't even sit up without help, so let's work on that first, then you can go back to being scary." Something in Jun's chest twisted. Rage or hope, he couldn't tell. Rehabilitation takes months, maybe years, maybe never. Your enemies won't wait, but your legs don't care about your schedule. I'm Naomi, and whether you like it or not, we're doing this together. Jun submitted to her examination, humiliated by his own helplessness. Why? Why help someone like me? Everyone deserves a second chance, even people who've done terrible things, she said, her hands gentle but firm on his unresponsive legs. My father believed that. It got him killed by people like you, but I still believe it. Later, alone in the darkness, Jun replayed her words. For 20 years, people feared him. Now, someone stood in his room and saw possibility. Maybe dying would be easier, but she made him want to see if he could actually walk again, just to prove her wrong, or maybe to prove her right. The alarm screamed at 5 a.m. Jun, accustomed to pre-dawn returns from criminal business, had never woken this early voluntarily. Naomi entered like a drill sergeant, snapping open curtains with zero sympathy. Crime lords don't get special treatment. Up. Bathing was humiliation distilled to its purest form. Naomi's hands were clinical, efficient, utterly indifferent to the rage radiating from Jun's clenched jaw as she maneuvered his unresponsive body. I've killed men for less than this, he hissed. Good thing I'm not a man you can kill then. She didn't even look up. Arms up. Dr. Sarah Chen assessed him with the warm enthusiasm of someone examining a venomous snake. Jun tried charm first, the disarming smile that made people forget what he was. Then, intimidation, the cold stare that made grown men stammer. Neither worked. Severe spinal damage, Dr. Chen reported, clinical and unflinching. Neural pathway interruption at L2, L3. Partial mobility possible with intensive therapy over months, possibly years. Full recovery? She met his eyes. Unlikely. A death sentence in different words. During exercises, Naomi spoke while manipulating his dead legs through range of motion movements. My father was a community activist, believed everyone could change, even gangsters. Her hands never stopped working. He was negotiating peace between your organization and the Southside crew. Caught 3 bullets in a coffee house. Wrong place, wrong time. Jun's breath caught. Why would you help me? My people might have, but hating everyone in your world doesn't bring him back. She looked at him then, really looked. And he'd want me to help you. That's who he was. Something cracked in Jun's carefully constructed armor. She saw him as human, not monster. Yuki visited with updates delivered in careful code. Territories lost, rivals emboldened. Jun barked orders from his hospital bed, watching Yuki's expression confirm what they both knew. He was losing control with every passing day. Boss, the men need to see you strong. Yuki's eyes flickered to the wheelchair, the useless legs. This isn't strong. After Yuki left, Jun swept the water glass from his bedside table. It shattered, glittering accusations across the floor. Naomi returned, surveyed the mess. Clean that up. You clean it. That's your job. My job is physical therapy. Your job is learning you're not in charge anymore. Your body is. So, you can clean it up, or you can sit in broken glass. Choose. Exhausted, humiliated, Jun used the grabber tool to collect each glittering shard. When finished, he looked up to find Naomi almost smiling. Good. That's the first real work you've done. Despite himself, Jun laughed. Bitter, broken. I used to move millions in a phone call. Now I'm proud I picked up glass. Perspective is funny that way. She took the grabber from him. Also, this is the first time I've seen you smile. Even bitter. It's an improvement. The attorney arrived that afternoon with worse news. Aiko was filing for conservatorship, claiming trauma had made Jun mentally unstable, unable to manage his affairs. She's positioning to control everything, your assets, your organization, your medical decisions. Jun understood immediately. Aiko hadn't just left. She was staging a takeover. She married a crime lord. Now she wanted to be one. The attack came at 2 a.m. Jun woke to 2 shapes entering. Wrong movement, wrong intent. Southside crew. He recognized the tattoos. Tenzin can't protect himself anymore. Boss sends his regards. They advanced with pillows. Suffocation. Looks natural in paralyzed patients. Jun grabbed the IV stand, swung wildly. Without legs for leverage, useless. The first man caught it easily, smiled. Then, Naomi exploded through the doorway. She moved like violence choreographed, elbow to throat, knee to solar plexus. The first attacker went down choking. The second lunged at Jun. Jun wrapped IV tubing around the man's throat, upper body strength born from 2 decades of enforcing fear. The man's eyes bulged and went glassy. Hospital security arrived to chaos and unconscious bodies. Police questioned. Jun said nothing. Street code ran deeper than paralysis. But after they left, Naomi sat beside his bed, hands still trembling slightly. "This is your life. This is what I'm stepping into." "Leave," Jun said. "Next time they'll come through you." "I'm not leaving, but we need to change the game." Her eyes were fierce. "You can't fight them physically yet, so we fight them differently. Not therapist and patient anymore. Allies, maybe more." Jun stared at the ceiling long after she left. He'd had soldiers who'd die for him, out of fear or loyalty bought with money, but he'd never had someone stand between him and death simply because she believed he deserved to live. Rehabilitation just became survival training, and somehow that made it easier to face the morning alarm. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My friend said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show her that these stories matter. Jun attacked physical therapy like he'd once attacked rival territories, with brutal, unrelenting focus. Life depended on it now. Every rep, every agonizing stretch of unresponsive muscles was survival training. "If I can't walk, I'm dead," he told Naomi during their 4th session of the day. "Then you'd better work harder." She pushed his leg through another range of motion, drill sergeant and guardian, somehow both simultaneously. His upper body transformed, shoulders broadened, arms corded with new muscle, preparing for the day he could support himself on a walker, on crutches, on anything that would let him stand upright again. Small victories accumulated, sitting up without assistance, transferring to the wheelchair solo, lasting 3 hours without pain medication. Late one night, unable to sleep, Jun found himself telling Naomi about his parents. Yakuza burned their restaurant, protection money dispute. His voice was flat, distant. "I was 12, watched from across the street, built everything after that on one promise, never be helpless again." "And now here you are," he continued, bitter, helpless. "Everything I built myself into was a lie." "You built yourself into someone people feared," Naomi said quietly. "That's not the same as someone who can't be hurt. Maybe this is a chance to build something real." Mrs. Choi arrived like winter, elegant, cold, dripping false concern. Jun was always unstable. The violence, the criminal activity, it's caught up with him mentally. She produced a psychiatric evaluation from a doctor Jun had never met. Naomi stepped forward. "This evaluation is fraudulent. I'm his primary care provider. I've never seen this doctor." Mrs. Choi's eyes raked over her with undisguised contempt. "And who are you? The help who thinks she understands my son-in-law's complex situation?" "I'm the person who's here." Naomi didn't flinch. "Where's your daughter?" Mrs. Choi left with veiled threats hanging in the air like smoke. 3 days later, desperate to prove he was recovering fast enough to matter, Jun demanded the walker. Dr. Chen warned him neural pathways hadn't healed sufficiently, but Jun didn't have time for sufficient. "I don't have time to wait." He gripped the walker, transferred his weight. For 5 miraculous seconds he stood, felt his legs beneath him, remembered what it meant to look down at the world instead of up. Then his legs collapsed completely. He pitched forward, smashing his face into the parallel bars. Blood exploded across chrome and tile. Emergency MRI revealed no additional spinal damage, but Dr. Chen was livid. "You could have paralyzed yourself permanently. 6 weeks minimum before attempting weight-bearing again." 6 weeks, an eternity when enemies were circling. Naomi found him hours later, staring at nothing, jaw clenched so tight she could hear teeth grinding. "You're terrified," she said, not gently, "and when you're terrified, you make stupid decisions trying to control things you can't control. I should have died in that hit. Would have been cleaner. Probably." She pulled up a chair, sat so their eyes were level. "But now you have to decide. Are you going to die slowly in this bed, or are you going to actually trust the process?" "I don't know how to trust." "I know. Your whole life, trust got people killed. But I'm asking you to try something different. Trust me, not because I'm loyal or paid or afraid. Trust me because I see something in you worth saving." Attorney Park arrived the next morning with surveillance photos, Aiko and Kenji, together, not discussing business. The affair had been running 2 years. Kenji was the insider who'd given the shooters information, timing, location, security gaps. The assassination wasn't just business, it was personal, orchestrated by his wife and his most trusted lieutenant, positioning to take everything through conservatorship. Jun stared at the photos, waited for rage, for the cold calculation of revenge. Instead, clarity arrived like dawn. "I spent 20 years building power through fear and loyalty bought with money, and the second I'm vulnerable, everyone I trusted tries to kill me or steal from me. Maybe the empire was always rotten." "So what are you going to do?" Naomi asked. "Something I've never done." Jun met her eyes. "I'm going to tear it all down. Not reclaim it, dismantle it. If Aiko wanted his organization, she could have ashes." For the first time since waking paralyzed, Jun thought beyond survival, thought about what kind of man he wanted to build from these ruins. He spent his life constructing an empire of fear. Maybe it was time to build something that didn't require people to hate him. Maybe it was time to become someone Naomi's father would have believed in. Attorney Park thought John had lost his mind. Exposing your criminal activities publicly? You'll incriminate yourself, destroy any legal defense. "I'm already dying in this world," John interrupted. "Let's kill who I was publicly. Might keep me alive literally." Naomi positioned the camera while John sat upright in his wheelchair, tattoos visible on his forearms. She made sure she was in the frame behind him, deliberate. "I'm Jun Tenzin. For 20 years, I ran a criminal organization. I hurt people. I broke laws. I'm not asking for sympathy." His voice was steady, unflinching. "Someone tried to kill me. While I was fighting to walk again, my wife filed for divorce, emptied our accounts, and is now trying to declare me mentally incompetent so she can control what's left." He showed the surveillance photos, Aiko and Kenji, intimate, conspiratorial. "My lieutenant and my wife, planning this together. I'm dismantling my organization, every operation, every connection. I'm cooperating with federal investigators." He paused, let the weight of that settle. "And I'm fighting for my life, not my criminal life, my actual life, the one where I learned to walk again with help from someone who had every reason to let me die." The camera panned briefly to Naomi. She didn't smile, didn't speak, just stood there, present. The video hit 2 million views in 24 hours. The internet fractured. Crime lord plays victim. Disgusting. His wife is a sociopath. Look at the evidence. Respect for admitting his crimes. And then, inevitably, what is this black woman doing with him? The racist attacks came like a flood. Black woman corrupting Korean culture, gold-digging slur targeting vulnerable Asian men. Death threats filled Naomi's phone, her address posted, her family's information spread across forums. Someone needs to handle that N-word. Protesters gathered outside the hospital. Some defended Jun's honesty, others screamed about race traitors and cultural corruption. Naomi's mother called, voice tight with fear. "What have you gotten into?" That night, Naomi sat on the edge of Jun's bed, hands trembling. "Maybe I'm making this worse for you. You're the only thing making this bearable. I'm not some saint, Jun. I'm scared. These people want me dead for helping you." "Then leave." He said it even though it would destroy him. I'll understand. This is my mess. I can't. Her voice broke. I tried to walk away emotionally already. Didn't work. I'm in this. The security breach happened at midnight. Protesters got past the first checkpoint, voices raised, anger hot. John heard them coming, instinctively positioned his wheelchair between the door and Naomi, his body, broken, useless legs and all, as shield. Security arrived, cleared the corridor, but Naomi stood there, staring at him. You just tried to protect me. You can't even walk, and you... I love you. The words came out raw, unplanned. I don't know when it happened, probably the first day you told me to stop being pitiful, but I love you, and if loving you means destroying what's left of my reputation, burning every bridge to my old life, I'll do it. Tears streamed down her face. I love you too, and I'm terrified of what that means. Their first kiss was desperate, certain, claiming each other in the chaos the world wanted to tear them apart from. FBI agent Torres arrived the next morning with immunity papers. Full cooperation against Yakuza connections, rival gangs, corrupt officials. Your testimony could dismantle networks we've been investigating for years. What do I get? John asked. You get to live, and maybe you get to become someone different. John looked at Naomi, then back at Torres. Done. Aiko responded with her own press conference, designer suit, perfectly applied tears. My husband is unwell. I'm trying to help him and he's lashing out. This woman has manipulated him terribly. Public opinion shifted again. Some believed her performance. That evening, Jun and Naomi sat in his hospital room while the world exploded outside. Media vans, protesters, police barriers. We just made ourselves targets, Naomi said quietly. Every gang, every racist, every person who thinks we're disgusting together. Yeah, but we did it together. And for the first time, I'm fighting for something real instead of an empire built on fear. What if we lose everything? I already lost everything. You're what I found in the wreckage. That's worth fighting for. Outside, cameras flashed. Inside, they held each other. Two people choosing love in a world determined to destroy them for it. Dr. Elizabeth Warren spent 3 hours dissecting Jun's mind with surgical precision. Court-appointed, reputation for brutal honesty, expression carefully neutral. Do you believe you're currently capable of managing complex financial decisions? Yes, paralysis affected my legs, not my cognition. Describe your relationship with your physical therapist. Is it professional? John didn't hesitate. It started professional, now it's not. I'm in love with her. You've confessed to criminal activity publicly. Do you understand the legal consequences? Completely. I'm cooperating with federal investigators. I deserve consequences for what I've done. Dr. Warren's face revealed nothing. 2 days later, Yuki delivered a message with hands that shook slightly. The organization wants you silent. Your cooperation with FBI is problematic. They say accidents happen in hospitals. Tell them, Jun said, voice cold and certain. If anything happens to me, I've prepared an evidence drop to every media outlet and law enforcement agency. My death triggers everything. Boss, they'll come for her. Jun's eyes went flat, dangerous. They try, I'll burn every connection I have, every name, every operation, every politician on the payroll. Complete scorched earth. Security upgraded overnight. Armed guards, limited access, Naomi moving into John's room permanently. They built intimacy in the pressure cooker, John reading to her in the evenings, Naomi's hands working his legs in therapy sessions that blurred into connection, learning each other in the quiet spaces between threats. Aiko staged her breakdown at a press conference, tears perfect, voice trembling. I just want my husband to get help. This woman has poisoned him against me. I'm filing conservatorship out of love. She brought witnesses claiming Jun was always unstable, showed edited photos of John and Naomi that suggested manipulation rather than love. Public sympathy shifted again. The encrypted message arrived from an unknown source. Your wife isn't who she claims. Check Singapore accounts 2019-2021. Attorney Park found $3.7 million systematically moved to offshore accounts in Aiko's name, evidence of planning stretching back years before the shooting. The source revealed himself, Takeshi, former accountant John had fired, seeking revenge on Aiko, who'd framed him for embezzlement. Kenji came with contrition painted on his face. "Boss, I was wrong. Aiko manipulated me. Let me make it right." Jun pretended to believe him, watched Kenji's hands. When Kenji reached for the syringe disguised as pain medication, Jun was ready, but it was Naomi who burst through the door, knocked the poison away. The fight was brutal, close quarters. Naomi moved like violence choreographed. Jun grabbed Kenji from his wheelchair, used upper body strength to apply a chokehold that would have killed if security hadn't arrived. The syringe tested positive for a compound that would mimic heart attack. The courtroom packed with media, gang affiliates, FBI observers. Aiko's team painted John as unstable, criminal, manipulated. They attacked Naomi's character with barely coded racism, opportunistic, inappropriate, ulterior motives. Then, Jun's team presented Dr. Warren's evaluation. Mr. Tenzin is cognitively intact, emotionally processing trauma appropriately, making rational decisions. Financial evidence of Aiko's theft, police reports on Kenji's assassination attempt, FBI testimony about Jun's cooperation. Attorney Park's closing was surgical. Mrs. Tenzin didn't leave because her theft was complete. She left because her status of continued survival threatened her plans. On the stand, confronted with Singapore evidence, Aiko's mask finally shattered. "That money was mine. I earned it dealing with him for 10 years. So you admit the theft?" "Yes, I took it. He was a monster. I deserved something for playing dutiful wife to a criminal. The shooting was supposed to finish it, but he survived." The courtroom erupted. She'd admitted knowing about the hits. The judge's ruling was swift. Conservatorship petition denied, referring this case to the district attorney for investigation into possible involvement in attempted murder and financial crimes. Temporary restraining order issued. Outside, reporters shouted questions. Jun sat in his wheelchair, Naomi beside him. "Do you forgive your wife?" "No, but I understand her. I built my life on fear and violence. She learned from the best. I don't forgive her, but I'm done letting hatred control me." In the modified van, finally alone, Naomi exhaled. "We won. We survived. Winning looks different." "What does winning look like?" Jun reached into his pocket, pulled out a simple ring Yuki had bought on his behalf. "I don't know yet, but I think it starts with me asking you something." He looked at her, this woman who'd saved his life in every way that mattered. "Naomi Carter, will you marry a former crime lord who's learning to walk and trying to figure out what redemption looks like?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes, absolutely yes." They kissed while Aiko stood in the background, flanked by lawyers facing criminal charges. The woman who tried to take everything left with nothing, while Jun, who'd lost everything, held the only thing that mattered. 6 months post-injury, Dr. Chen conducted the comprehensive evaluation with clinical detachment that couldn't quite hide her surprise. Nerve response had improved. Jun felt sensation in his feet, his lower legs, actual feeling where there'd been nothing. "Upper body development is exceptional," she noted, testing his core strength. "Now let's see about standing." Jun gripped the parallel bars, shifted his weight with agonizing slowness. His legs trembled, muscles screaming from disuse and damage. Then, impossibly, he was upright, fully standing for the first time since the shooting. 30 seconds before his legs gave out, but 30 seconds of being vertical, of looking down instead of up. Dr. Chen's smile was genuine. That's genuine progress. Walking with assistance is now a realistic goal. The engagement announcement went public the same day. Racist attacks intensified. The Asian community fractured between support and condemnation. "Betraying our culture," Korean elders said. Naomi's younger sister Keisha called, supportive but worried. Their mother Sarah was silent. Their father, murdered in gang crossfire years ago, couldn't weigh in. Death threats arrived daily for both of them. Then Sarah had a stroke. "Go," Jun said when Naomi stood frozen, phone in hand. "I'll be here when you come back. I can't leave you vulnerable. You taught me I'm not helpless. Go be with your family." She left for Chicago, and Jun was alone for the first time since the shooting. He realized how dependent he'd become, not just physically, but emotionally. That night, unable to sleep, he wrote her a letter detailing everything he couldn't say out loud: his gratitude, his love, his fear that he'd never be enough. In Chicago, Sarah lay in ICU while Keisha confronted Naomi in the waiting room. "Are you seriously marrying a gangster? Dad would be rolling in his grave." Dad was killed by gangsters. Jun is trying to not be one anymore. There's a difference. Or you're convincing yourself because you're in love. Maybe both. Naomi's voice was steady, but I've seen him transformed. He's not who he was. When Sarah regained consciousness, weak but lucid, she took Naomi's hand. "Your father believed people could change. He died proving it. If you believe this man can change, I trust you. But be careful, baby. Love doesn't erase history." Back in the hospital, Jun attempted walker therapy alone. Pushed too hard, fell. No serious injury, just wounded pride. But this time, instead of spiraling into darkness, he called Dr. Chen. "I need help, and I need to accept that's okay." First time he genuinely asked without Naomi forcing him. Saito arrived the next day, old guard Yakuza, traditionalist, dangerous. "Jun, you brought shame. Your cooperation with FBI, your relationship with outsider." "I'm done with this life," Jun met his eyes without flinching. "I've given FBI everything about current operations, but I protected the old guard. You're safe. Now leave me alone." "You think you can just walk away?" "I can barely walk at all. But yes, I'm walking away. Kill me if you want, but know that my death releases everything. Every name, every operation, complete burn down." Saito studied him for a long moment. "You've changed. Maybe you're no longer Yakuza, but you'll always be Korean. Remember where you came from." He left without violence, grudging respect in his silence. Naomi returned after 8 days, found Jun standing at parallel bars practicing alone. "Your mom?" "She'll recover. How are you?" "I fell while you were gone, but I got back up. Well, Dr. Chen helped me get back up." He paused, and I realized something. "What?" "I don't just need you. I want you. There's a difference. Need is dependency. Want is choice. I choose you every day." She crossed to him, eyes bright with tears. "I choose you too. Every complicated, difficult, beautiful part of this." They planned a small wedding, 30 people maximum, in the community garden where Jun once conducted criminal business. Jun insisted on standing for the vows. "I'll use a walker, but I'm standing when I marry you." Preparation intensified. Goal: stand unsupported for 2 minutes minimum. 6 weeks before the wedding, Jun practiced at the parallel bars while Naomi coached. "Breathe. Distribute weight. You've got this." 1 minute. 90 seconds. At 2 minutes, his legs started shaking violently. He pushed to 2 minutes 30 seconds before collapsing into the wheelchair. "You're going to stand at our wedding," Naomi said, fierce and certain. "I'm going to walk to you." Jun looked up at her. "Even if it's just 10 steps with a walker, I'm walking to you." A new goal, not just standing, but walking down an aisle to claim the life they were building together. The FBI's investigation concluded with the largest organized crime bust in the city's history. Corrupt officials, Yakuza leadership, rival gang heads. Jun's testimony dismantled networks that had operated with impunity for decades. Agent Torres offered witness protection. "You and Naomi can disappear. New identities, new lives." Jun shook his head. "I'm done hiding. I'm done running. Whatever comes, we face it." Aiko's letter arrived handwritten, delivered through an intermediary. She confessed everything, married him for security, never loved him. The affair with Kenji started within their first year together. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm writing because I need you to know. You weren't always a monster. The first year, you tried. I never wanted to be with someone like you, but the money, the status, I convinced myself it was enough. It wasn't, and rather than leave honestly, I became what you were, someone who takes what they want without caring who gets hurt. She ended with something almost like grace. I hope you find happiness, real happiness, not the performance I gave you. She looks at you like you're human. I never did. Jun read it 3 times. Naomi found him holding it, expression distant. How do you feel? Nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, just nothing. She's not part of my future. He placed the letter in a drawer, closed it, symbolic closure for a chapter already finished. 2 weeks before the wedding, Jun walked 50 feet with a walker. 1 week before, 100 feet. Dr. Chen watched with something like awe. This is extraordinary progress. I have extraordinary motivation. The plan? 30-foot aisle. Jun would walk with the walker, Naomi would wait at the altar. They announced the wedding publicly, too famous to hide. Death threats continued, but so did messages of support. Everyone deserves love. The Korean community fractured, traditionalists against, younger generation supportive. The Black community watched carefully, wondering if this was respect or fetish. Jun and Naomi decided on a private ceremony, live-streamed for those who wanted to watch. If people hate us, they'll hate us, but they'll see love is real. The night before the wedding, Naomi broke down. What if I'm making a mistake? What if you're not really changed, just paused? Jun didn't get defensive. You might be. I might not have changed enough. The violence in me, the coldness, it's not gone. It's managed. I work on it every day. But I can't promise I'll never fail. That's not comforting. It's honest. I love you enough to be honest instead of comforting. You deserve to know what you're marrying. I'm scared. Me too. I'm terrified you'll wake up one day and realize you married a monster who's just pretending. You're not pretending. No, but the fear is real, and we're doing this anyway. The community garden transformed. Simple flowers, white chairs, 30 guests. Naomi's family, FBI agent Torres, Dr. Chen and her therapy team, attorney Park, Yuki, a few reformed associates. Media outside at respectful distance. Naomi walked down the aisle radiant in a simple white dress. Then Jun's moment. He stood from the wheelchair using the walker. First step, legs shaking but holding. The crowd gasped. Many hadn't believed he could walk. Second step, third, fourth. 30 feet felt like 30 miles. At step 25, his legs started to give out. Naomi stepped forward instinctively. Jun shook his head. I've got this. The last 5 steps were pure willpower. He reached the altar, standing. Who gives this woman? The officiant asked. Naomi's mother, Sarah, stood. She gives herself, and I support her choice. Jun's vows came raw and certain. Naomi, I can't promise I'll always be the man you deserve, but I promise I'll work every day to become him. You saved my life. Now let me spend the rest of it earning that gift. Jun, I can't promise this will be easy, but I promise I'll stand with you through every hard moment. You showed me that broken people can heal. Now, let's heal together. They exchanged simple bands. Jun stood without the walker for the entire ceremony, 15 minutes, legs trembling, sweat on his brow. At "You May Kiss the Bride," his legs finally gave out. He collapsed into the wheelchair. The crowd gasped, concerned, but Jun was laughing. Best 15 minutes of my life. Naomi laughed through tears. You stood for our wedding. I told you I would. At the reception, Yuki approached while Naomi was dancing with her sister. Boss, what do you want me to do? The organization is scattered. Find honest work, Yuki. We're done with that life. What will I do? Whatever you want. You're free. We all are. They left in the accessible van, heading to their small apartment. Modest life, real life. No regrets? Naomi asked. Only that I didn't meet you 20 years ago. Could have avoided a lot of terrible choices. Or maybe you needed those 20 years to become someone who could appreciate this. Jun took her hand. Maybe. Either way, I'm here now, with you. And that's enough.
6 months after the wedding, Jun walked short distances with a cane, used the wheelchair for longer outings. Physical therapy continued. He might gain more function, he might not. This was likely his reality, and it was enough. They lived in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Jun's assets remained frozen, absorbed by legal fees and restitution to victims. He worked consulting on corporate security, legitimate work, honest money. Life was simple, ordinary, deeply satisfying. "I want to start a rehabilitation center," Naomi said one evening. "Not just physical therapy, but holistic, mental health, job training, community support." "With what money?" "Fundraising, grants. We start small." "And who's the target population?" "People like you, people the system has written off, ex-convicts, disabled, poor, anyone who needs a second chance but can't afford traditional care." Jun's eyes glistened. "You want to build what I needed. We want to build what we both needed, and what my father would have wanted." Jun used his notoriety strategically. From crime lord to community healer became the media narrative. He gave interviews, spoke at events about rehabilitation and redemption. Naomi leveraged her professional network. Therapists, doctors, social workers. Community fundraisers brought small donations that accumulated into something real. FBI agent Torres contributed significantly. "You helped us dismantle dangerous networks. This is how we help you build something better." 6 months of work, $200,000. Enough to start small. The abandoned community center sat in the neighborhood Jun once controlled through fear. The building was damaged, neglected, a perfect metaphor for what they were attempting. "I used to collect protection money from businesses here," Jun said, staring at the structure. "I terrified these people. Now I want to serve them." The city sold it for a nominal fee, eager for community investment. Renovation began. Volunteers, local businesses, people who believed in second chances. During construction, Mr. Park approached. Jun recognized him immediately. Local business owner he'd extorted for 15 years. "I know you," Mr. Park said, no warmth in his voice. "Yes, you paid me $500 every month. Your family suffered because of me. And now? I can't undo it, but I'm trying to build something that helps families like yours. That's not repayment, it's just what I can do." Mr. Park steadied him. "My grandson has cerebral palsy. Insurance won't cover the therapy he needs. Will your center help him?" "Yes, free of charge." "Then we'll see. Actions matter more than apologies." The Phoenix Center opened on a clear autumn morning. The name was deliberate. From ashes of their old lives, something new rises. Services included physical therapy led by Naomi, mental health counseling, job training and placement, support groups for ex-convicts and trauma survivors, sliding scale fees, free for those who couldn't pay, affordable for those who could. The first patient was a young man wheelchair-bound after a gang shooting. He reminded Jun painfully of himself. "I'm going to tell you something someone told me when I wanted to give up. You're stronger than you think, and you're not doing this alone." A reporter interviewed Jun at the opening. "Mr. Tenzin, do you feel you've redeemed yourself?" "No. Redemption isn't a destination. It's a practice. Every day I try to do better than yesterday. Some days I succeed, some days I fail. But I keep trying. That's all I can do." "What about your ex-wife?" "Aiko is serving a 3-year sentence for financial crimes. I wish her well. I hope she finds her own path to becoming someone she can respect. But she's not my story anymore." "And your relationship with Naomi? Some still criticize." Naomi stepped forward. "Let them criticize. We're too busy building something meaningful to care about people who hate us for loving each other." 3 months after opening, Mr. Park's grandson walked with braces. Mr. Park approached Jun with something like peace in his expression. "Thank you. My grandson has hope now." "That's what we're here for." "I forgive you. Not because you've earned it, because holding hate was killing me. You gave me a reason to let it go." Jun couldn't speak, overwhelmed by the first genuine forgiveness he'd received. That evening, Jun and Naomi stood in the center's empty therapy room. "We did it. We built something real," she said. "You built it. I'm just helping." "We built it together," like everything else. Jun tried to stand from his wheelchair without the cane. Naomi moved to help, but he held up a hand. Wait, let me try. He stood slowly, unassisted, trembling but upright, took 3 steps toward her before his legs gave out. She caught him. 3 steps, more than I thought I'd ever take again. How far do you want to go? Jun looked at her, this woman who'd saved him in every way that mattered. With you, as far as we can, 1 step at a time. 2 years later, Jun walked primarily with a cane, used the wheelchair for long distances. His function had stabilized. This was likely his maximum recovery. And it was enough. The Phoenix Center thrived. Over 200 patients served, 15 staff members, plans for expansion. Jun and Naomi's morning routine became sacred. Coffee together, planning the day's sessions, reviewing patient progress. Jun led a support group for ex-convicts called From Crime to Community. I was a criminal, he told the group with unflinching honesty. I hurt people. I can't undo that, but I can choose differently now. Every day is that choice. They trusted him because he'd lived it. Yuki visited with news that made Jun's chest tight with unexpected pride. I'm engaged to a teacher. Never thought I'd have a normal life. Proud of you, Yuki. You built something real. You showed me it was possible. When you walked away, you gave me permission to do the same. Jun understood then. His transformation had rippled outward, giving others permission to change. Aiko's release came after 2 years, reduced for good behavior. Her message arrived through a lawyer. I'd like to meet, if you're willing. Jun discussed it with Naomi. Part of me is curious. Part of me doesn't care. Maybe it gives her closure. Maybe it gives you confirmation you've moved past it. They met in a coffee shop, neutral territory. Aiko arrived thinner, worn, humbled by incarceration. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to see you, see what you've built. Why? Because in prison I had time to think, and I realized I never actually knew you. I knew Jun Tenzin, the crime lord. I never knew Jun, the person. You're right. I never let you. I never let anyone. Until her. He gestured to Naomi. Aiko looked at Naomi with something almost like respect. I hated you, blamed you, but I'm starting to understand. You gave him something I never could. You saw him as human. I saw him at his worst, and I stayed. That's different than seeing him at his best and leaving. Aiko nodded. I'm sorry, to both of you. Not for leaving, that was necessary, but for how I did it. The cruelty, the manipulation. I accept your apology, and I hope you find peace. Are you happy? Jun looked at Naomi. Yes, for the first time in my life, genuinely happy. Then I'm glad, truly. She left, and Jun felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just completion. The Phoenix Center planned a second location. Naomi was pregnant, discovered 1 month ago. Jun was terrified. What if I'm a terrible father? What if I teach them the wrong things? You'll teach them what you learned, that people can change, that strength is vulnerability, that love is choice. What if my past haunts them? Then we deal with it together, like everything else. At a rehabilitation conference, Jun spoke on From Power to Purpose, Rebuilding Identity After Loss. He shared his journey, crime lord to paralyzed to healer. I lost everything, my legs, my empire, my identity as powerful, and in that loss I found who I actually am, not who fear made me, who love revealed. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. That evening, Jun and Naomi stood on their apartment balcony, overlooking the city he once controlled through fear. Now it was just home. Do you miss it? The power, the respect, the fear. Sometimes, not the reality, but the feeling of being untouchable. Now I'm very touchable, vulnerable, and that's still hard. But I was dying in that life. Slowly, internally. I was powerful and completely alone. Now I'm vulnerable and completely loved. I'll take this trade every time. No regrets? One, that I didn't meet you 20 years ago, but maybe I needed those 20 years. Maybe I needed to become a monster to understand what it means to be human. June stood without his cane, walked 4 steps to Naomi. They'd done this exercise nightly, building endurance, maintaining function. Tonight felt different. When the baby comes, I want to be able to stand, hold them, walk across the room. You will. Promise? I promise we'll work toward it. Together. Like everything. They embraced on the balcony, city lights below, sky above. June thought about his identities, the feared, the paralyzed, the abandoned, and now the husband, the healer, the father-to-be. None erased the others. He was all of them. The violence was part of his story, but not the ending. Naomi had taught him that strength wasn't the absence of weakness, it was choosing to keep going despite it. He'd never walk like before, he'd always carry his past, but he walked now towards something, not away from something. Toward her, toward their child, toward people at the center who needed to know that broken doesn't mean finished. He'd lost his legs, his empire, his old life, but he'd gained his humanity, and the woman who showed him it was there all along. Some things are worth more than power, like a heart that's finally learned what it means to be whole. They walked inside together, one step at a time, like everything worth doing.